The arrival of the trading post on planet Keth 7 buzzed with its usual activity when the human ship landed. Ambassador Vex watched from his office window as the small vessel touched down with surprising grace. The blue-skinned Kethian had seen many. Alien species come and go, but humans were still relatively new to this sector of the galaxy. "Another primitive species," muttered his assistant, Nix, adjusting his ceremonial robes. "Their technology readings are so low, they barely register." On our scanners, Vex nodded thoughtfully. The galactic community had accepted humans into their fold mostly out of pity. Earth's technology was laughably behind. They still used chemical rockets and primitive computers. Most civilized species had moved beyond such crude methods thousands of years ago. The human delegate stepped out of the ship, and Vex blinked in surprise. The man was young, probably in his 30s by human standards, with messy brown hair and wearing simple clothes that looked almost casual. This was their diplomatic representative? "Greetings," the human said as he approached the reception area. "I'm Mike Thompson, trade representative from Earth. Sorry, I'm a bit late. Had some trouble with the navigation system." Vex exchanged a glance with Nix. The human spoke in basic galactic common, but with a heavy accent that made him sound almost childlike. "Welcome to Keth 7, Representative Thompson. I am Ambassador Vex. We have prepared the standard orientation materials for your review." Mike smiled and pulled out a small, flat device from his pocket. "Thanks, but I think I'll just record this on my phone if that's okay. Easier than taking notes." The device was unlike anything Vex had seen. It was thin, rectangular, and when Mike touched it, it lit up with colors and symbols. The human began pointing it around the room, and somehow it was capturing images instantly. "What is that?" Nix whispered, his eyes wide. "Oh, this?" Mike held up the device casually. "Just my smartphone. Nothing fancy. It's actually a few years old. The camera's not even that great." Vex felt his throat tighten. A camera? This small device contained imaging technology? The Kethians had imaging systems, of course, but they required large installations and significant power sources. This thing fit in the human's palm. How does it function? Vex asked carefully. Mike shrugged. Solar power mostly. Battery. Lasts about a day with normal use. Want to see something cool? He tapped the screen a few times, and suddenly music filled the air. Complex, layered sounds that seemed to come from the tiny device itself. Nix stumbled backward. "It produces audio projections too?" "Yeah, got about 10,000 songs on here, plus movies, books, games." Mike continued tapping, showing them what appeared to be moving pictures with sound. "I downloaded a bunch of stuff for the trip. Gets boring on long space flights, you know." Vex sat down heavily. Entertainment, media storage, and projection. Audio. Generation, imaging systems, all in one device that needed no external power source beyond their star's radiation. His own civilization's equivalent would require a facility the size of a small building. "This is impossible," Nix muttered. "Our sensors clearly indicated that human technology was primitive." Mike looked confused. "Really? This is just consumer grade stuff. Everyone back home has one. Kids get their first smartphones when they're like 12. He paused. "Although I guess mine is a bit outdated. The new models have way better AI assistants and stuff." "AI assistants?" Vex's voice cracked. "Yeah, you just talk to it, and it answers questions, helps with tasks, that sort of thing. Mine's pretty basic, though." Mike demonstrated, speaking to the device. "Hey, Google, what's the weather like on Earth right now?" A voice responded from the device, giving detailed weather information for multiple Earth locations. Vex gripped the edge of his desk. Artificial intelligence that could process and respond to natural language queries, accessing vast databases of information instantly. How many of these devices exist on your planet? Vex asked weakly. Smartphones? I don't know, maybe 8 billion? Pretty much everyone has one. Some people have 2 or 3. Mike put the device back in his pocket, like it was nothing special. So, about those trade agreements. But Vex wasn't listening anymore. He was staring at the pocket where the device had disappeared, his mind racing. If this was what humans considered primitive technology, what did their actual advanced systems look like? Nix leaned over and whispered urgently, Sir, we need to contact the High Council immediately. Our entire understanding of human capabilities may be completely wrong. Vex nodded numbly. The galaxy was about to change, and it had started with a simple smartphone. Asterisk the investigation within hours of Mike's arrival. The Kethian High Council had assembled in emergency session. The massive crystal chamber hummed with nervous energy as representatives from across their star system gathered via holographic projection. Show them the recordings, Vex said, his voice still shaky from the morning's encounter. The council watched in stunned silence as the footage played back. Mike's casual use of his smartphone seemed even more shocking when viewed through their advanced analysis systems. Energy signatures that defied their understanding of physics. Computing power that exceeded their best installations. All crammed into a device smaller than their ceremonial data tablets. This cannot be accurate, declared Council Leader Kara, her blue skin darkening with stress. Our initial scans of their vessel showed primitive propulsion systems, chemical combustion engines. How can they possess such advanced portable technology while using rockets that belong in a museum? That's what we need to find out, Vex replied. The human is still here, completing standard diplomatic protocols. I suggest we investigate further. Back at the trading post, Mike was having lunch with several Kethian officials. He seemed completely unaware of the panic his phone had caused. Between bites of what tasted like space chicken, he checked his messages. Sorry, guys, he said, glancing at his screen. My wife just sent me a video of our daughter's first steps. Want to see? Before anyone could respond, Mike had turned his phone around, showing a high-definition video of a small human child taking wobbly steps across a room. The image quality was crystal clear, with perfect color reproduction and smooth motion. Trade Officer Beck nearly choked on his food. That video was transmitted across interstellar space? Yeah, got it about 10 minutes ago. The lag isn't too bad from Earth. Only about 3 hours each way. Mike swiped to another video. Oh, and here's my nephew's baseball game from last week. Kid's got a great arm. Beck's mind reeled. Interstellar communication networks, capable of transmitting high-quality video to personal devices? The Kethians had similar technology, but it required massive orbital stations and consumed enormous amounts of energy. This human was receiving family videos like they were casual messages. How is this possible? Beck asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Mike looked puzzled. How is what possible? Oh, the internet. I mean, it's pretty standard stuff. We've got satellites, fiber optic cables, cell towers, basic communication infrastructure. Basic? Beck squeaked. Well, yeah. Some places still have slow internet, but most of the planet gets decent speeds now. My phone's on the 5G network, so it's pretty fast. Mike tapped his screen again. Want to see something funny? My brother just posted this video of his cat. The next few minutes were torture for Beck, as Mike showed him various videos, photos, and messages, all loading instantly on his device. Social media feeds with millions of users sharing content simultaneously. Video calls with people on the other side of their planet. News updates from around their world, refreshing in real time. Everyone on your planet has access to this network? Beck asked faintly. Pretty much. Even poor countries have decent mobile coverage now. It's kind of a human right, you know? Access to information. Mike paused. Although some governments try to control it, but there are ways around that. Beck excused himself and stumbled to the nearest communication terminal. His hands shook as he sent an urgent message to the High Council. The entire human population appears to be connected to a single planetary-scale information network. Each individual carries a personal access device with capabilities that exceed our top-tier installations. Meanwhile, Mike had started showing his lunch companions a video game on his phone. "This is just a simple puzzle game," he explained, as colorful shapes moved across the screen in response to his touch. "Nothing too complex. I mostly play it when I'm bored." What Mike didn't realize was that the simple game was rendering three-dimensional. Graphics in real time, with physics calculations, sound effects, and particle effects that would have required their civilization's most powerful computers. And he was playing it on a device he kept in his pocket. As word spread through the Kethian government, panic began to set in. If humans considered this technology primitive, what did their actual advanced systems look like? How had the Galactic community so completely misunderstood human capabilities? In the High Council chamber, emergency protocols were being activated. They had welcomed what they thought was a primitive species into their alliance. Instead, they had potentially invited a technological superpower that made their own civilization look like children playing with toys. "We need to know everything," Council Leader Kara announced to the assembled representatives. "Find out what humans are really capable of, and pray we haven't made a terrible mistake." Asterisk the revelation. The next morning, Ambassador Vex decided to take a more direct approach. He arranged a private meeting with Mike under the pretense of discussing trade routes, but his real goal was to learn more about human technology without arousing suspicion. "Tell me about your journey here," Vex said, trying to sound casual as they sat in his office. "The navigation systems on your ship seemed ... interesting." Mike laughed and pulled out his phone again. "Oh man, you should have seen the mess we had with the GPS. Well, not GPS exactly. That's just for Earth. But similar idea." He opened what looked like a mapping application. "We use this thing called stellar positioning. Pretty much every ship has it now." Vex watched as Mike zoomed in and out of what appeared to be a three-dimensional map of local space, complete with real-time positions of planets, asteroids, and space traffic. The detail was incredible. He could see individual ships moving through the system. "This is on your personal device?" Vex asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Yeah, it's pretty handy. Works anywhere in the galaxy, updates in real time. I can even check traffic conditions before jumping to hyperspace." Mike tapped the screen. "See? There's a cargo convoy heading to the Rigel system. Probably want to avoid that route if you're in a hurry." Vex's brain struggled to process this information. Real-time galactic positioning and traffic monitoring on a personal device? The Kethians had similar systems, but they required massive installations and were restricted to military and government use. "How do you power such systems?" Vex asked. Solar panels mostly, plus some fusion cells for backup. Nothing fancy." Mike shrugged. "The new ships are switching to antimatter drives, but mine's an older model. Still gets the job done." "Antimatter drives?" Vex's voice cracked. "Yeah, way more efficient than fusion. Better for the environment, too." Mike seemed to think this was perfectly normal, although some people worry about the safety regulations. You know how it is. New technology always makes people nervous. Vex excused himself and rushed to send another emergency message to the High Council. Humans were casually using antimatter propulsion and calling it new technology. Meanwhile, the most advanced Kethian ships still relied on ion drives that humans apparently considered obsolete. When he returned, Mike was video calling someone back on Earth. The image quality was So clear, it looked like the person was sitting in the room with them. "Hey, Dad," Mike said to the elderly man on the screen. "Just checking in. How's the weather there?" "Oh, not bad," the man replied. "Though they're saying we might get some solar flare activity later this week. The weather satellites are tracking. A big one." "Better tell Mom to charge up the house batteries then," Mike said. "Don't want the power going out again." After ending the call, Mike noticed Vex staring at him. "Everything okay? Your people monitor solar activity?" Vex asked carefully. "Of course. Solar flares can mess with electronics, satellite communications, power grids, basic stuff." Mike looked concerned. "Don't you guys track space weather? That seems pretty important for any spacefaring civilization." Vex realized with growing horror the humans had casual access to information systems that the Kethians considered classified military intelligence. Space weather monitoring, galactic navigation, real-time communications across interstellar distances, all available to ordinary citizens. "Mike," Vex said slowly, "what would you consider advanced technology by human standards?" Mike thought for a moment. "Well, we're working on some pretty cool stuff. Quantum computers are getting better every year. AI systems are becoming really sophisticated. Oh, and there's this new thing called matter compilation, basically printing objects at the molecular level." "Printing ... objects?" "Yeah, you just scan something, send the data anywhere in the galaxy, and print out an exact copy. Still working out the bugs, but it's pretty amazing." Mike's phone buzzed with a notification. "Oh, looks like my brother just printed me a birthday present. He's on Mars, so he'll probably just data stream it to the nearest printer here." Vex felt the room spinning. Humans could transmit matter across interstellar space as easily as sending a message. They had quantum computers and advanced AI systems that they considered routine technology. "Mike," Vex said, his voice barely audible, "what do humans consider primitive technology?" "Oh, you know, stuff from the early 21st century. Chemical rockets, basic computers, nuclear power." Mike paused. "Actually, that reminds me. I heard some species in this sector still use ion drives. Can you imagine? That's like using a horse and buggy when you could drive a car." Vex closed his eyes. The Kethians' most advanced propulsion system was what humans considered equivalent to a horse and buggy. Their entire civilization was built on technology that humans had abandoned decades ago. The galaxy wasn't just changing. It had already changed, and they were only now realizing how far behind they had fallen. Asterisk, the breakdown 770 words. The Kethian High Council was in complete chaos. Emergency sessions had been running for 3 straight days, and still no one could agree on what to do about the human situation. Representatives from 12 different star systems argued back and forth while their entire understanding of Galactic civilization crumbled around them. "We need to evacuate immediately," declared General Rox, his military uniform wrinkled from sleepless nights. "If humans have been hiding this level of technology, they could conquer our entire sector without breaking a sweat." "Don't be ridiculous," countered Science Minister Lila. "They're clearly not hostile. Look at their representative. He's completely harmless." "That's exactly what makes it terrifying," Rox shot back. "They're so advanced that they don't even see us as a threat. We're not enemies to them. We're pets." Meanwhile, Mike was having the time of his life at the trading post. The Kethians had been incredibly hospitable, constantly asking him questions about Earth and human society. He was happy to share, completely unaware that each casual answer was sending shockwaves through their government. "So anyway," Mike said to a group of fascinated Kethian scientists, "my kid's science fair project was about terraforming. Pretty basic stuff. Atmospheric processors, soil modification, that sort of thing. She got second place." Dr. Finn, the lead researcher, nearly fell off his chair. Your child ... studies terraforming? Yeah, it's a popular project topic. Kids love the environmental science aspect. Mike swiped through photos on his phone. Here's her model of a Mars-type planet before and after processing. She even included little biodomes with different plant species. Asterisk. The scientists stared at the images in stunned silence. The child's basic science project showed a more sophisticated understanding of planetary engineering than their entire research division possessed. How old is your daughter? Dr. Finn asked weakly. 8. She's really into space stuff. Wants to be an exogeologist when she grows up. Mike beamed proudly. She's already started learning about mineral composition on different world types. Dr. Finn excused himself and ran to the nearest communication terminal. His message to the High Council was brief, but devastating. Human children are being educated in technologies that represent the pinnacle of our scientific achievement. Back in the council chambers, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. Reports were flooding in from every interaction with the human representative. He had casually mentioned that Earth's food production was managed by AI systems that could feed 40 billion people. He had shown them pictures of cities that floated in the clouds of gas giants. He had talked about vacation trips to other galaxies like they were weekend getaways. We have to face reality, Council Leader Kara said, her voice hollow with defeat. We are not a spacefaring civilization. We are barely space-capable. Humans have been exploring the universe while we've been playing with toys. But our sensors showed primitive technology, protested tech analyst Zoe. Their ships registered as basic chemical propulsion systems. Because those are basic systems to them, Kara replied. They probably use them for local transport, like we use ground vehicles. Their real ships are so advanced that our sensors can't even detect them properly. The revelation that followed was even worse. A junior analyst had been reviewing the original sensor data and discovered that what they had interpreted as primitive chemical rockets were actually showing energy signatures that their instruments couldn't fully process. The human ship wasn't primitive. Their technology was so advanced that Kethian sensors couldn't understand it. We need to contact the other galactic powers, General Rock said. The Altarians, the Vegan Empire, the Centauri Federation. They need to know what we're dealing with. And tell them what? Kara asked bitterly. That we invited a species into our alliance that makes all of us look like cave dwellers? That our entire galactic civilization is built on technology that humans. Consider ancient history. As they argued, Mike was finishing up his official duties, completely oblivious to the panic he had caused. He had enjoyed meeting the Kethians and was impressed by their hospitality. In his final report to Earth, he wrote, "Local species vary. Friendly and eager to learn. Technology level appears to be early space age, reminiscent of Earth, circa 2150. Recommend cultural exchange programs to help them advance. They seem particularly interested in basic science and engineering concepts." The Kethian translation I processed this report and forwarded it to the High Council. The final line hit them like a physical blow. Mike Thompson, representing what he considered a fairly average human civilization, had classified their entire technological achievement as equivalent to Earth's capabilities from over a century. In the council chambers, the lights dimmed as emergency power protocols activated. The weight of their technological insignificance had finally broken, something fundamental in their society's self-perception. They weren't just behind in the technology race. They had never even qualified to enter it. Asterisk the new reality 3 weeks. After Mike Thompson's departure, the Kethian civilization was still reeling from what historians would later call the Great Humbling. The aftershocks of his visit had spread throughout their entire sector of the galaxy, fundamentally changing how every species viewed their place in the universe. Ambassador Vex sat in his office, staring at the final report from the Galactic Intelligence Council. The document, marked Top Secret Civilization Threat Assessment, painted a picture that was somehow even more disturbing than they had imagined. The human wasn't even a scientist, Vex muttered to his assistant Nix, who had barely left his quarters since the revelation. He was just a trade representative, a middle-level bureaucrat with average education by their standards. The report detailed what they had learned about Mike Thompson through careful investigation. He had studied basic commerce at a standard Earth university. His grades were average. He had chosen diplomatic service not because of any particular expertise, but because he enjoyed traveling and meeting new people. By human standards, he was completely unremarkable. "Sir," Nix said quietly, "if their average citizens possess technology that exceeds our greatest achievements, what do their actual scientists and engineers have access to?" Vex didn't answer. He couldn't. The implications were too staggering to contemplate. Across the galaxy, other civilizations were asking the same questions. The Altarians had gone into complete isolation after learning that their quantum computing breakthrough, celebrated as the pinnacle of their technological achievement, was something humans gave to their children as educational toys. The vegan empire had shut down their entire space program when they realized that human teenagers built better spacecraft in their spare time than their best engineers could design. The Centauri Federation had perhaps the most traumatic response. Their entire government had resigned in shame after discovering that their revolutionary terraforming project had been described by Mike as cute and a good first attempt. They had spent 300 years and their entire national budget on something that human children did for science fair projects. But the most shocking discovery came from the Kethian deep space monitoring stations. They had been tracking what they thought was cosmic background radiation for decades, assuming it was natural phenomena. After recalibrating their instruments with a new understanding of advanced technology, they made a terrifying discovery. The background radiation was actually human communication networks. Humans had been casually chatting, sharing videos, and playing games across a communication grid that spanned multiple galaxies. The Kethians had been detecting the overflow from what amounted to alien social media for their entire recorded history. "They've been out there the whole time," Vex said, his voice hollow. "We thought we were discovering space. They were probably watching us like we watch children learning to walk." The revelation explained so much. Why had humans been so readily accepted into the galactic community? Why had other species been so eager to establish trade relationships? It wasn't kindness or diplomatic courtesy. It was the same reason adults let children play at important jobs. The entire galactic civilization was humanity's way of letting lesser species feel included